How did aging truly feel in the 1300s compared to 2024? Did people even get old back then? What happened to your body, your mind, your place in the world as the years piled on hundreds of years ago? Prepare to have your ideas of old age shattered. Number 9. Mental health and conjugal decline. The journey of the human mind through the long years of life presented vastly different landscapes depending on whether someone lived in the deep past of the medieval world or in the bustling present of modern times. For medieval folk, the concept of a mind slowly losing its grip or experiencing deep, lasting sadness was understood through lenses we would find strange today. There was no scientific understanding of the brain's intricate workings, no complex maps of its neurons and chemicals. When an elder person began to forget names, to lose their way in familiar surroundings, or to behave in ways that seemed out of character, these changes were often seen not as a medical condition but as something else entirely. Sometimes such changes were attributed to the natural wearing out of the body, a kind of simple decay, much like an old tool breaking down. The humors, those four fundamental fluids believed to govern the body and mind, blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile, were often blamed. An imbalance in these humors could cause fits of madness, deep melancholic spells, or a loss of sharp thought. If black bile was too strong, it could lead to severe sadness and withdrawal, a condition sometimes known as melancholy, which might resemble modern depression. But there were no specific diagnoses like we know them today, no detailed descriptions of what we now call Alzheimer's disease or vascular dementia. The responses to these mental changes in medieval elders were equally far removed from modern practices. If an old person started to wander, speaking nonsense, or showing signs of paranoia, their family might try to keep them safe at home. The community, often small and close-knit, might have a mix of sympathy and fear. Superstition sometimes played a role. Mental disturbances, especially sudden or severe ones, could be seen as the work of demons, or even as a curse. Exorcism or prayers and religious rituals might be tried to drive away what was believed to be an evil influence. There were no specialized medical facilities for people with cognitive decline. Those who became too difficult to manage at home might be cared for by charitable institutions, like monasteries or almshouses, if they were lucky enough to find a place. These places offered basic shelter and food, but no specific therapy for mental decline. Sometimes, if behavior became very disruptive or violent, there was little understanding of how to help, and people might be restrained or even shunned. The old person, once a fount of wisdom and memory, could become a source of fear or confusion. Their identity, tied so closely to their ability to remember and function, would slowly erode, and there was little support to preserve it. The memories they held, the stories they told, the skills they possessed, slowly vanished as their minds dimmed, leaving family members to cope with the loss without understanding the true nature of the illness. Consider the stark contrast in the modern era, say in 2024. The understanding of mental health and cognitive decline has undergone a revolution. Scientists, doctors, and researchers have delved deep into the brain, mapping its intricate structures, identifying its chemical messengers, and understanding the complex processes that underpin thought, memory, and emotion. When an older person begins to show signs of memory loss or changes in personality, it is a medical event, not a mysterious affliction. Doctors can perform detailed cognitive assessments, brain scans like magnetic resonance, imaging or positron emission tomography scans, and blood tests to look for biological markers. These tools allow for a much more precise diagnosis of conditions such as Alzheimer's disease, frontotemporal dementia, Lewy body dementia, and vascular dementia. Each of these conditions has distinct characteristics and often different prognoses and treatment approaches. The focus shifts from abstract humors or supernatural forces to specific proteins in the brain, or problems with blood flow, or genetic predispositions. This scientific understanding brings with it a sense of clarity Even if a cure remains elusive for many forms of dementia, the modern response to cognitive decline in elders is multifaceted and driven by a medical model. If a diagnosis of dementia is made, there are often various medications available that can help manage symptoms, slow progression, or improve quality of life for a time. These medications work on the brain's chemistry, aiming to restore some balance or support nerve cell function. Beyond medication, a vast array of therapies and support systems exist. Occupational therapists help people with dementia maintain daily living skills. Speech therapists assist with communication challenges. Physical therapists help maintain mobility. Memory care units in assisted living facilities and nursing homes are specially designed environments that offer a safe and stimulating space for individuals with cognitive impairment. These units often feature secure perimeters to prevent wandering, visual cues to aid navigation, and structured activities designed to engage residents mentally and socially, even as their cognitive abilities decline. Support groups for caregivers provide vital, emotional, and practical assistance to family members struggling with the demands of caring for a loved one with dementia. Public awareness campaigns work to reduce the stigma associated with these conditions, promoting understanding and empathy. The goal is often not just to manage the illness, but to preserve the dignity and quality of life for the elder person for as long as possible, keeping them connected to their memories and their identity through person-centered care approaches. The emotional and psychological toll on both the person experiencing decline and their family is acknowledged, and professional counseling and support are available. The modern era recognizes cognitive decline as a complex medical challenge that demands a holistic approach to care. Number 8. Appearance and perceptions of beauty. The way an older person looked and how that appearance was viewed by society differed profoundly between the medieval era and modern times. In the medieval world, signs of aging were generally accepted as a natural progression of life, a visual diary of one's journey through years of toil, childbirth, and hardship. There was little emphasis on hiding the outward marks of time. Wrinkles, sagging skin, graying or thinning hair, and stooped postures were common sights among older people, and they often carried a certain respect. These physical changes were seen as indicators of longevity, survival, and accumulated experience. A deeply lined face might suggest a life well lived, full of challenges overcome. White hair was often associated with wisdom, a crown of experience earned over many seasons. Old age was something to achieve, given the relatively short life expectancies, and reaching it was itself a testament to resilience. Art from the period, such as illuminated manuscripts and paintings, often depicted older individuals with realistic wrinkles and aged features, not trying to smooth them away or present an idealized youthful version. The beauty standards for women, though focusing on youth and fertility for marriage, did not extend to demanding that older women perpetually maintain a youthful appearance. Instead, an older woman might be seen as a matriarch, a grandmother figure whose age commanded deference. The purpose of clothing and personal care in medieval times was primarily functional. Clothing provided warmth and modesty. Hygiene practices were rudimentary by modern standards, focused more on cleanliness to avoid disease rather than on aesthetic enhancement. Cosmetics were minimal and often made from natural, sometimes questionable ingredients, used primarily for special occasions or by specific social groups, and not as a daily routine to defy aging. Skin care involved natural oils or herbal concoctions, mostly for protection from the elements rather than for anti-aging effects. The idea of looking younger was not a widespread societal aspiration. There was no industry dedicated to reversing the signs of aging because the concept itself was largely absent. People understood that their bodies changed as they grew older, and these changes were part of the human condition, an inescapable part of the life cycle. The focus was on living a virtuous life, maintaining health and contributing to the community, rather than on preserving a youthful facade. An older person's value was rooted in their knowledge, their skills, their moral standing, and their social connections, not in their physical appearance. Fast forward to 2024, and the perception of aging appearance has undergone a radical transformation. The modern world places an immense premium on youthfulness. Signs of aging are often viewed as imperfections to be corrected, battled, or concealed. Wrinkles, age spots, and gray hair are frequently seen as undesirable indicators of decline rather than wisdom. A massive anti-aging industry has blossomed, offering countless products and procedures designed to erase or postpone the visible effects of time. This industry includes a dizzying array of skincare creams, serums, and lotions, promising to reduce wrinkles, tighten skin, and restore youthful radiance. Cosmetic dermatology and plastic surgery are widely available, offering options like Botox injections to smooth lines, dermal fillers to restore volume, facelifts to lift sagging skin, and laser treatments to improve skin texture. Hair dyes are commonplace, allowing individuals to cover gray hair and maintain a youthful hair color. There is constant pressure, particularly for women, to maintain a youthful appearance even as they age. This pressure can extend to men as well, though often less intensely. The media, advertising, and popular culture relentlessly promote images of youthful beauty, often painting celebrities and models who appear ageless due to advanced cosmetic interventions or careful digital enhancement. This creates an often unrealistic standard against which people compare themselves. The drive to look younger can lead to significant financial investment and sometimes invasive procedures. Fitness and diet industries also tie into this, promoting active lifestyles and specific eating habits, not just for health, but also for maintaining a youthful physique and appearance. The idea that one can age gracefully often translates into aging while minimizing the visible signs of age. While there are movements advocating for body positivity and accepting natural aging, the dominant narrative still favors a youthful aesthetic. An older person's appearance can sometimes be seen as a measure of their health, their self-care, or even their perceived success in life. The perception of beauty in modern old age is complex, fraught with both acceptance of natural processes and a powerful societal push to defy them. Number 7. Physical activity and labor. The daily rhythm of life for an older person in the medieval period was overwhelmingly shaped by physical labor. From childhood to old age, most people, regardless of their social standing, engaged in forms of work that demanded significant physical exertion. For the vast majority who lived in rural areas, farming was the backbone of existence. This meant tilling fields, sowing seeds, harvesting crops by hand, tending to livestock, and maintaining farmstead structures. These tasks were backbreaking and relentless, requiring strength, endurance, and manual dexterity. There were no machines to ease the burden. An old farmer or his wife would continue to work in the fields for as long as their bodies allowed, perhaps taking on lighter duties as their strength waned, but rarely ceasing altogether. They would be seen digging, weeding, milking, spinning wool, or preparing food. Often from dawn until dusk. Even in towns and cities, crafts and trades demanded physical effort. A tailor sat and cut cloth, but might also carry heavy bolts of fabric. A blacksmith hammered metal. A baker kneaded dough. A carpenter sawed timber. These were not sedentary lives. The concept of retirement as we understand it today, a complete cessation of work funded by pensions or savings, simply did not exist for the common person. People worked until they could no longer work, often dying with their boots on, metaphorically speaking, still engaged in some form of productive activity. If an elder became too infirm to perform their primary labor, they might transition to less strenuous tasks within the family or community. An elderly woman might become the primary gaggerlar for grandchildren, manage the household accounts, or tend a small garden plot. An elderly man might mend tools, watch over livestock, or become a village storyteller, sharing his accumulated knowledge. Their contribution, even if reduced, was still vital to the household economy and social fabric. Their physical activity, though potentially limited by age and ailments, was ongoing. The body, accustomed to a lifetime of physical strain, would continue to be used even if its capabilities diminished. This constant engagement in physical activity, even if forced by necessity, likely maintained a certain level of physical fitness and muscle strength for as long as possible, though also leading to wear and tear on joints and bones. In stark contrast, physical activity and labor in modern old age, specifically in 2024, present a vastly different picture. For many, formal retirement from a job or career is a distinct life stage, often occurring in the 60s. This means a significant reduction or complete cessation of paid structured work. The nature of work itself has also changed dramatically. A large portion of modern jobs are sedentary, involving desk work, computer use, and minimal physical exertion. Someone might spend their entire career sitting at a desk, a stark difference from medieval manual labor. Upon retirement, many people have the financial means, through pensions, Social Security, and personal savings, to live without needing to perform physically demanding labor. This freedom allows for a diverse range of activity. Some embrace active retirement, engaging in sports like golf or tennis, hiking, cycling, or joining fitness classes specifically designed for older adults. They might pursue hobbies that involve light physical activity, such as gardening, volunteer work, or travel. However, the modern lifestyle also presents challenges related to physical activity for older adults. The prevalence of sedentary lifestyles throughout life can lead to reduced physical fitness in later years. The ease of transportation, the availability of labor-saving devices in homes, and the proliferation of entertainment options that involve sitting can all contribute to decreased physical activity. Many older adults live in environments where walking or cycling is not practical or safe, relying instead on cars or public transport. While some actively pursue fitness, others may struggle with maintaining physical activity due to health issues, lack of motivation, or limited access to appropriate facilities. The option to not engage in physical labor is a luxury for many, but it also necessitates conscious effort to remain active for health benefits. Modern medicine strongly encourages physical activity for older adults, recognizing its importance for maintaining bone density, muscle mass, cardiac health, and cognitive function. This is often framed as exercise rather than labor, a deliberate pursuit of physical movement for health rather than economic necessity. Number 6. Diet and nutrition. The daily sustenance available to the average medieval elder was characterized by scarcity, seasonality, and a fundamental lack of variety, presenting a stark contrast to the nutritional landscape of today. For most people living in medieval Europe, particularly the rural population, the diet was largely dependent on the success of local harvests and the produce of their own lands. The staple food was grain, primarily barley or rye, which was made into coarse bread, porridge, or ale. Vegetables were often limited to what could be grown in a small garden: cabbages, onions, beans, and peas, and these were only available seasonally. Meat was a rare luxury for the common folk, reserved for special occasions or the wealthy. Fish, if accessible, provided a protein source, especially on fasting days, dictated by the church. Dairy products like milk, cheese, and butter would have been available where livestock was kept. Fruits were seasonal, often eaten raw, and preserved forms were rare. The quality of food could be poor. Grain might be stored improperly, leading to spoilage or pest infestation. Without refrigeration, food preservation methods were limited to salting, smoking, drying, or pickling, which could alter nutrient content. Malnutrition was a constant threat, even for those who ate regularly. Deficiencies in vitamins and minerals were common, leading to conditions like scurvy. lack of vitamin Z, rickets, lack of vitamin D, and iron deficiency. Anemia. For an older person whose body might already be weakened by a lifetime of labor and earlier illnesses, these nutritional deficiencies would have been particularly debilitating. Chewing ability would decline with age due to poor dental hygiene and tooth loss, making the consumption of tough, coarse breads or meats difficult. Digestion could also be compromised. Food preparation involved simple cooking methods over open fires or in ovens, often involving boiling or stewing, which could further leach nutrients from ingredients. The availability of food was also highly susceptible to external factors. A bad harvest, a prolonged drought, or an epidemic could lead to widespread famine, affecting the most vulnerable, including the elderly. There was no concept of a balanced diet as understood today, merely a struggle for enough calories to survive. Fast forward to 2024, and the diet and nutrition available to older people are dramatically different, marked by abundance, variety, and scientific understanding. Most modern societies have a highly developed food industry that provides access to a vast array of fresh, frozen, canned, and prepared foods year-round, regardless of local growing seasons. Supermarkets offer produce from across the globe, ensuring a constant supply of fruits and vegetables rich in vitamins and minerals. Meat, poultry, and fish are widely available and affordable for many, offering diverse sources of protein. Dairy products are fortified with vitamins, and alternative milk options cater to dietary restrictions. Fatty foods, while sometimes criticized for their nutritional content, also offer convenience and can be fortified with essential nutrients. The modern understanding of nutrition is rooted in science. Dietary guidelines developed by health organizations provide recommendations for balanced eating, emphasizing consumption of whole grains, lean proteins, fruits, vegetables, and healthy fats. There is widespread awareness of the importance of vitamins, minerals, and micronutrients. For older adults, specific nutritional needs are recognized. Doctors and dietitians can provide personalized advice on maintaining bone health with calcium and vitamin D, supporting muscle mass with adequate protein, and promoting heart health with specific dietary patterns. Supplements are readily available to address any dietary gaps. Food is processed and prepared in a multitude of ways, from gentle steaming to complex culinary techniques, enhancing digestibility and palatability. Dental care is advanced, allowing most older adults to maintain their teeth and chew a wide range of foods. For those with chewing or swallowing difficulties, softer foods, purees, or specialized nutritional drinks are available. While disparities in access to healthy food still exist in modern societies, the overall landscape for diet and nutrition for older individuals is one of unprecedented choice, scientific understanding, and accessibility, a stark contrast to the medieval. Number 5. Economic security and retirement. The idea of a person stopping work entirely in their later years and living comfortably on accumulated wealth or a guaranteed income was largely absent in the medieval world. Economic security for older people was a precarious and fluid concept almost entirely dependent on the continuous ability to work or the benevolence of family and community. For the vast majority of the population who were peasants or laborers, there was no formal retirement system, no pensions, and no social security net. People worked until they physically could not anymore or until they died. Their entire lives were a cycle of labor, and old age was no exception. If an elder became too frail to work their land or ply their trade, their survival relied on their children. Multi-generational households were the norm, and it was expected that children would care for their aging parents. The land and property might be formally transferred to the eldest son, sometimes with the stipulation that the parents would be provided for until their death. This informal contract, however, was not always reliable. If a family faced hardship, a bad harvest, illness, or death of younger members, the older members might find themselves increasingly vulnerable and a potential burden. Their economic security was directly tied to the prosperity and goodwill of their descendants. Without children, or if children died or moved away, an old person could face severe destitution. Some might become dependent on the charity of the church, begging or entering an almshouse if one existed and had space. These institutions, often run by monasteries or wealthy patrons, offered basic shelter and food, but they were limited in number and typically served the most desperately poor. There was no concept of saving for old age in a bank or through investments, as such financial systems were either non-existent or inaccessible. To common people, any surplus wealth was often in the form of land, livestock, or valuable goods which could be seized or lost. Old age for the common medieval person often meant a descent into poverty unless supported by strong family ties. In dramatic contrast, the modern era, specifically 2024, has established comprehensive systems for economic security. In old age, built around the concept of retirement, for many work is a distinct phase of life, followed by a period where income is derived from sources other than active employment. Government-mandated Social Security or state pensions provide a baseline income for most retired citizens funded through contributions made during their working lives. This acts as a crucial safety net, ensuring that even those who did not save extensively can avoid absolute destitution. Private pensions, often offered by employers, allow individuals to build up substantial retirement funds over decades of employment. These pensions might be defined benefit plans, guaranteeing a specific income, or defined contribution plans, where the individual manages their investments, personal savings. And investments also play a massive role. Individuals are encouraged to save. Through tax-advantaged retirement accounts, invest in stocks, bonds, or real estate, creating diversified portfolios that can provide income during retirement. The financial planning industry offers specialized advice for retirement planning, guiding individuals on how to save, invest, and manage their assets to ensure a comfortable old age. While economic disparities exist, and not everyone achieves the same level of comfort in retirement, the framework for economic security is robust. Older adults can live independently, often in their own homes, or choose to move into retirement communities or assisted living facilities with the financial means to pay for these services. They have access to healthcare services, often subsidized by government programs or private insurance, alleviating the economic burden of medical costs that could bankrupt a medieval family. Many older adults use their retirement years to travel, pursue hobbies, volunteer, or spend time with family, unburdened by the need to continuously work for survival. While inflation, market fluctuations, and healthcare costs can pose challenges, the modern systems aim to provide a stable financial foundation for elders, a fundamental shift from the reliance on immediate family or charity seen in the medieval world. Number 4. Living arrangements and family support. The family unit and the dwelling place in the medieval period were deeply intertwined, especially for older individuals. The norm for an elder was to live within a multi-generational household alongside their children, grandchildren, and sometimes even great-grandchildren. This arrangement was not merely a preference but an economic and social necessity. There were no nursing homes, no assisted living facilities, and very few specialized care institutions. Therefore, when an older person became frail, sick, or simply unable to perform their daily tasks, it was the immediate family's duty and expectation to provide care. An elder might continue to preside over the household even if less physically capable, contributing with wisdom and guidance or taking on lighter tasks like mending clothes or minding children. The physical layout of homes, often simple and functional, facilitated this shared living. A small cottage might house several generations under one roof, sharing warmth, food, and daily chores. This constant proximity meant that family members observed each other's health closely and were readily available to offer immediate assistance. The support system for older people in the medieval world was primarily informal, built on kinship and community bonds. Neighbors and relatives often extended help during times of illness or extreme frailty. Feudal obligations in some cases might also play a role, where a lord might provide for an elderly retainer. But this was more an act of patronage than a guaranteed right. The church also offered some charitable support through alms and occasional provision for the very poor and elderly. But this was far from a universal system. The strength of family ties was paramount. Disowning or abandoning an elderly parent was a grave social transgression, though it could occur in desperate circumstances. Land transfers often involved an informal contract that the children inheriting the land would care for their parents until death. This system, while often robust, was also vulnerable to demographic shocks. If a plague swept through or if younger generations died off, an elder could be left without support, facing a desperate existence alone. The concept of independent living for an older person, away from family, was almost unheard of, unless one entered a religious order or was a very wealthy widow with servants. In stark contrast, modern living arrangements and family support for older adults in 2024 present a diverse and often individualized landscape. While some multi-generational households still exist, particularly in certain cultures or for economic reasons, they are no longer the dominant norm. Many older adults live independently in their own homes, often for decades after their children have moved out. Retirement communities offering amenities and social activities allow older individuals to live among peers without daily family oversight. Assisted living facilities provide increasing levels of care, from meal preparation and medication management to personal care assistance for those who need more support, but still value a degree of independence. For those requiring extensive medical care, nursing homes offer round-the-clock professional attention. The choice of living arrangement is often driven by financial means, health status, and personal preference rather than just necessity. Family support in the modern era is often characterized by distance and choice. Children may live far from their aging parents due to career opportunities or personal preferences, making daily hands-on care challenging. Technology, like video calls and instant messaging, helps bridge some of this geographical distance, allowing for frequent communication. When direct care is needed, it often involves a blend of formal and informal support. Family members might provide emotional support, financial assistance, and occasional help with errands or appointments. However, professional caregivers, home health aides, and hospice services often step in to provide much of the physical and medical care that was once solely the domain of family. Older adults have access to a vast network of professional services from meal delivery to transportation, designed to support independent living. The responsibility for elder care has become more diffused, shared between family formal care providers and government-funded social services. While family bonds remain important, the expectation of daily hands-on care solely from adult children is less universal, and the older person has a wider array of options for how and where they live. Their later years. Number 3. Role in society. The role of older people in medieval society was often paradoxical, shifting between reverence for wisdom and potential burden, a far cry from the varied and sometimes complex roles played by elders today. In a world with limited literacy and no widespread printing press, oral tradition was paramount. Elders, particularly men, were seen as living repositories of knowledge and experience. They held the collective memory of the community, remembering farming techniques passed down through generations, family histories, legal precedents, and stories that shaped cultural identity. Their advice on matters of law disputes and agricultural practices was often sought after and highly valued. A village elder might serve as a local judge or an arbiter of disagreements, his long life giving him an undeniable authority. Older women, too, held significant roles, often as matriarchs, overseeing large households, managing resources, and passing down skills like healing with herbs, midwifery, and weaving. Their experience in childbirth and child-rearing was indispensable. Reaching old age was an achievement, a sign of God's favor and resilience against a harsh world. Lending a certain respect to those who survive, however, this respect could be fragile. While wisdom was valued, physical infirmity could quickly diminish an elder's perceived value. If an older person became too weak to contribute labor, they could become a drain on family resources, especially for poor families. Living hand to mouth, the harsh realities of survival meant that those who could not contribute economically were sometimes seen as a burden. While most families adhered to the expectation of caring for their elders, dire circumstances like famine or widespread illness could lead to neglect or desperation. There was no universal system of support, and the elderly poor often faced a desperate existence. Moreover, the lack of medical understanding meant that certain old age ailments, particularly cognitive decline, could be misunderstood or even feared, leading to isolation. The role of elders, therefore, was heavily dependent on their continued ability to contribute even if in a reduced capacity, and the economic circumstances of their family. Their position was earned through experience and maintained through usefulness. The role of older people in modern society, specifically in 2024, is far more diverse, often shaped by individual choice, economic factors, and social policies. The concept of retirement has fundamentally altered the elder's relationship with work. Many older adults choose to remain actively engaged in the workforce, either full-time or part-time, often pursuing second careers, consulting or volunteering, leveraging their decades of professional experience. Others fully embrace retirement, dedicating their time to hobbies, travel, education, or extensive volunteer work. Their financial independence allows them to pursue interests that were impossible during their working lives. Grandparenting has also become a significant role, with many grandparents providing substantial childcare and emotional support to their grandchildren, often bridging the gap for busy working parents. However, the modern era also presents its own challenges to the elder's role. The rapid pace of technological change can sometimes leave older individuals feeling disconnected or irrelevant if they struggle to adapt. The emphasis on youth in media and popular culture can sometimes marginalize the voices and experiences of older generations. While traditional wisdom is still valued, readily available information through the internet and formal education means that elders are no longer the sole repositories of knowledge, and their advice may not be sought as universally as it once was. Yet advocacy groups and policies increasingly champion the rights and contributions of older adults, recognizing their vast experience and potential for continued engagement. They serve as mentored political activists, consumers, and volunteers, contributing significantly to the economy and social fabric in myriad ways. The role of the elder in modern society is less rigidly defined than in the medieval period, offering more freedom, but also requiring a conscious effort to remain connected and engaged, often outside the traditional family or community structure. Number 2, medical care and understanding of aging. The approach to medical care and the understanding of the aging process in the medieval period were based on very different principles than those of today, often leading to starkly different outcomes for older individuals. Medieval medicine was heavily influenced by the theories of ancient Greek and Roman physicians, particularly Hippocrates and Galen. The dominant theory was that of the 4 humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, choler, and black bile, melancholy. Health was believed to be a balance of these humors, and illness was an imbalance. Old age itself was often seen as a natural process of the body, drying out and cooling down, leading to a predominance of cold and dry humors like black bile, which could cause conditions like rheumatism, vision problems, and a general weakening. There was no understanding of germs, viruses, or the microscopic causes of disease. Surgical practices were rudimentary and often dangerous, performed without anesthesia or sterile conditions. Medications were primarily herbal remedies, often based on traditional knowledge, superstition, or limited experimentation. Access to medical care was severely limited. For most, the wealthy might consult university-trained physicians, though their knowledge was often theoretical and based on ancient texts. For the common person, care came from local healers, barbers, who also performed minor surgeries and tooth extractions, wise women, or monastic infirmaries. These practitioners often relied on a mix of practical experience, folklore, and religious belief. Diagnoses were often vague, focusing on general symptoms rather than specific diseases. Treatments for age-related ailments were largely palliative. Herbs for pain, poultices for swelling, or dietary recommendations based on humoral theory. Broken bones might be set, but complex internal ailments or chronic conditions of old age, such as heart disease, diabetes, or many forms of cancer, went undiagnosed and untreated. People simply suffered from wasting, sickness, or the ague. The concept of preventative medicine was almost non-existent, beyond general advice on diet and living a virtuous life. Many older people simply endured their ailments, often becoming increasingly frail and dependent, as their bodies succumbed to the cumulative effects of disease and a lifetime of hard labor. Death from seemingly minor infections was common, as antibiotics did not exist. In sharp contrast, modern medical care in 2024 offers an unprecedented level of understanding and intervention for the aging process. The advent of germ theory in the 19th century revolutionized medicine, leading to a scientific understanding of infectious diseases and the development of antibiotics, vaccines, and sterile surgical techniques. Today, medical science understands the intricate workings of the human body at a cellular and molecular level. Doctors specialize in various fields, with geriatrics being a dedicated branch focused on the unique health needs of older adults. Diagnostic tools are incredibly sophisticated. X-rays, MRI scans, CT scans, ultrasound and blood tests can detect diseases at early stages. Surgeries are performed with precision, often minimally invasively, using advanced instruments and robotics with the patient under general or local anesthesia. Medications are specifically designed to target diseases and symptoms. There are drugs to manage blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, heart conditions, arthritis, and countless other age-related ailments. Organ transplantation, once unimaginable, is a reality. Rehabilitative therapies, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy help older adults recover from illness or injury and maintain function. Preventative medicine is a cornerstone of modern healthcare. Regular checkups, screenings for cancer, vaccinations against common diseases, and lifestyle advice on diet and exercise are all designed to prevent illness and promote healthy aging. The goal is not just to extend life, but to extend health span, allowing older people to remain active and independent for longer. Hospitals are equipped with advanced technology and specialized clinics cater to specific conditions. While healthcare access and cost remain significant challenges in many modern societies, the sheer volume of medical knowledge and therapeutic options available to older individuals today is a transformation from the medieval era. Number 1. Life expectancy. The most fundamental and perhaps most shocking difference between medieval and modern old age lies in the simple reality of who lived to be old. In the medieval period, reaching what we would consider old age was an extraordinary achievement, a feat of survival against immense odds. The average life expectancy at birth across medieval Europe hovered around 30 to 40 years. This figure is heavily skewed by high infant and child mortality rates. Many children died before their first birthday, and a significant number more before reaching adulthood. If a person managed to survive childhood and the perilous years of youth, their chances of living into their 50s and 60s increased. However, even for those who made it past childhood, life beyond 60 was uncommon. A person of 50 might be considered quite old, and a person of 60 or 70 was truly ancient, a rare and venerable sight. The reasons for this low life expectancy were numerous and pervasive. Disease was rampant with frequent outbreaks of plague, smallpox, dysentery, and tuberculosis sweeping through communities, often wiping out large portions of the population regardless of age. Famine was a constant threat, as agricultural yields were precarious and vulnerable to bad weather or conflict, leading to widespread malnutrition and starvation. Sanitation was poor, leading to contaminated water sources and rapid spread of infection. Medical knowledge was limited, offering little protection against illness or injury. Childbirth was extremely dangerous for women, and many died in their prime. Life was physically demanding, often involving hard labor from an early age, which took a heavy toll on the body. There was no concept of public health systems, no widespread access to clean water or sewers, and no understanding of hygiene on a broad scale. War and violence were also common, adding to the dangers of everyday existence. The very few individuals who did attain extreme old age often showed the physical signs of a lifetime of hardship and survival. Against incredible adversity, compare this dramatic reality with the life expectancy in the modern era, specifically in 2024. The average global life expectancy at birth has soared to over 70 years, and in many developed nations it consistently exceeds 80 years. Reaching old age is no longer an exception but the norm. Most people can expect to live into their 70s, 80s, and even 90s, with a growing number of centenarians individuals living to be 100 years old or more. This monumental increase in longevity means that old age is a distinct and often lengthy stage of life that the vast majority of individuals will experience. This remarkable shift is attributable to a confluence of factors. Advances in medical science and public health have been grew. Vaccines have eradicated or dramatically reduced the incidence of once deadly infectious diseases like smallpox and polio. Antibiotics effectively treat bacterial infections that were once fatal. Improvements in sanitation and hygiene, including widespread access to clean water and modern sewage systems, have dramatically reduced the spread of waterborne diseases. Better nutrition with a consistent and varied food supply has reduced malnutrition and bolstered immune systems. Improved prenatal and postnatal care has drastically lowered infant and child mortality rates, ensuring more people survive into adulthood. Advancements in surgical techniques, diagnostic tools, and treatments for chronic conditions like heart disease, cancer, and diabetes mean that people can live longer with illnesses that would have been a death sentence in the past. Safer working conditions and widespread access to education have also played a role. The sheer number of older people in modern society is a testament to these profound changes, creating a demographic reality that would have been unimaginable to a medieval person.